So here we are. 2025 has come and gone, and it was a heck of a year. We got to do a lot of the kind of the same old fun things that we do every year, along with some cool new things. So I thought I'd take a minute to show you what sort of fun we had. So being a part of the American Gas or Hot Rod Shop team, 2025 kind of started off like most years, and that is kind of getting cars ready for the upcoming Detroit Autorama. That show is kind of a staple for our shop. We go there every year, usually take 2 to 4 cars, and 2025 was a big year for us. We brought 4 vehicles, 2 of them kind of returning vehicles with Art's truck and Jim's OBS Chevy, and then we also had a couple new builds. The 34 Ford known as TB Copper and Eliza's 74 Gremlin. And the Gremlin was kind of what I started the year out on, working, getting that together, building the exhaust, just doing all the things that need to be done to get it ready for the show. And it was a fun project. Definitely learned a lot with that. It's not like we build Gremlins every day, so I got to learn a lot. And it was fun. So while we were getting ready for Autorama, I did get to do a cool interview with the Bay City Car Meet group. That can be seen up on their YouTube channel. I just got to talk about myself and some of my projects along with the shop and what we're doing over at Gasser. So that was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend going over to their channel and checking it out, along with all the other cool videos. And then, of course, in February, about the middle of the month, just before Autorama, we have our Chrome and Ice show down in Flint. And that's always another good one. Kind of the first show of the season kind of kicks things off. We got to take Art's 46 Chevy, and that got a lot of attention as always. Chrome and Ice is just a great show. So then, of course, the next thing up is Detroit Autorama, and it was a big deal this year. Obviously, having 4 vehicles there is a lot of work, a lot of setup time, and fortunately, we had a bunch of people helping us out, so things went well. It did take all day Thursday to get stuff set up and cleaned and prepped for the show, but we can't thank everybody enough for helping us out. And of course, this year was a big year for us because the 34 Ford was actually unveiled down in Detroit, which means it was in contention for the Riddler. We didn't get chosen as one of the Great 8, but the car got a lot of good reception. Tremec Transmissions even did an interview with us about the car because it has one of their 6 speeds in it, so that was pretty cool. I mean, the car got a lot of attention. Not long after Autorama was our kids' spring break from school, so we took a family trip down to Tennessee, which was a lot of fun. Never been down that way before, and we got to check out some cool things. The Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum was pretty cool. Got to see some of the old trains and locomotives. And also took a stop in Chattanooga to the Coker Museum. And as of course, as a car guy, that's a really cool place to check out. Would definitely recommend it. So now we're getting into about April, and that kind of starts to kick off the show season for us. Freeland Walleye Fest is usually one of our first shows of the spring. And so we did that. And then around the same time, I got to start a new project at the shop. A gentleman named Bob brought us his 62 Corvette. And although I'm not a big Corvette guy, this one's pretty cool. This car has been in his family for a lot of years, and it's actually been sitting in a barn for 50 years. We're taking the car, basically pulled everything apart, and although the body is staying the way it is, we've dropped everything on a new Art Morrison chassis, a GM Performance LS3, and a Tremec 6-speed. So it's all original paint, but everything underneath and inside is going to be brand new. It's just awesome. This car's got such a family history, and it's been kind of off the road for so long. It's going to be so cool to see it back together. So May kicked off with a really cool experience. Out of our good friends and customers, Frank invited us down to the Mecum auctions in Indianapolis, which is my first time going to one of their auctions. I've always watched them on TV, but it's just a cool experience to be down there. And we actually got to be kind of front row right up next to the auction block. It's cool. You can walk around in the staging lanes and check things out. And there's just so much to see. You know, we spent a couple days down there, and between all the different buildings and tents and things, I know we didn't even see everything. It's just so cool. About the middle of May, there's a weekend where we have two shows. This is kind of something we do every year. The first one being the Mustang Club of Mid-Michigan's Stampede in Birch Run, and then the second one, the Back to the Bricks Dust Off in Flint. And again, usually we attend these both every year. The Stampede was pretty cool because this was kind of the first show that not only did I get to take my Lincoln, but Dad also brought his 73 F100, as well as John brought the 78. So we got to have all three of our vehicles at that same show, which was a really cool experience. And even better for me, this was the first time that something that I brought to a show won a trophy. So I did get a class award for the Lincoln. It may have been a class of 1, but hey, I'll take it. It was pretty neat. And then the following day took the Lincoln down to the Dust Off in Flint. That was, again, a great time as always. Lots of stuff to see there. June kind of started off with the Twilight Cruise at Garber Buick. That's kind of a fun one every year. We brought the 78 down as well as the shop truck. And there's a lot of local people that go to that show, so a lot of our customers are down there. It's cool to get to talk to everybody. And then, of course, towards the end of June, we have St. Ignace Car Show. So I got to spend a lot of time in June, putting some good work into the Lincoln. You can actually see a video on my channel of some work that I did to get the car ready for the show. As always, the St. Ignace Car Show was just a fun experience. We kicked it off by a group of us from the shop and some friends. We actually took our vehicles and we drove up the coast along the lake there to get up to St. Ignace, and that was a fun time. Just a great cruise with a lot of good people. And then obviously the weekend is a lot of fun. Did a lot of cruising, just hung out, caught a lot of videos and pictures. Probably my favorite shot from this year, I actually took in St. Ignace, which was a cool clip of my Lincoln and TJ's Comet out in front of the Mackinac Bridge. It's probably one of my favorites of the year. July was another fun month. We kicked it off with the Beaverton Parade, where we actually again got to have all three vehicles in, both the trucks and my Lincoln. So that was cool, another fun getting all the group together. Middle of July was the American Gasser Open House, and that's always a great time. I didn't get to attend this year with some family stuff going on, but that's something we always look forward to at the shop is the open house, and we've already scheduled this year's open house for July 18th, so that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it. A little later in July, Mom and Dad took both the 78 and the 73 to a show up in Gladwin, and it was cool. Both of the trucks won a trophy up there, so that was a neat thing to see both of them up there having fun and getting the trucks getting a little bit of attention. So then the end of July kind of brought a little bit of change. We've actually took and got rid of the 73 Ford, and kind of by get rid of, I mean swapped it out. So we did a trade with a gentleman. He took the 73, and Dad actually ended up with a 1970 Montego. It's something you might have seen a little bit on my channel. We're going to do a spotlight video on that once springtime hits. But it's a really cool car. So we're getting into August, and that's usually another pretty busy month for us. And I even had one weekend where the wife and kids were away or something, and I literally had car things going every day. On a Friday, Dad and I cruised the Montego, went to some burnouts in Merrill, and came back to the shop and actually helped get the 34 Ford TB Copper loaded up and shipped out to its home in New York. And the following day, went to the Goodrich Car Show, and after that, kind of hit St. Charles. They do a little cruise night over there, so just hopped in the Lincoln and went out and cruised. That was kind of fun. And then the following day, followed it up with the Bob Saley Memorial Car Show out in Perrington, and that was a little bittersweet. Obviously, Bob was a great customer, and unfortunately passed away, so they dedicated the show to him, and we went out there to kind of show our support and to kind of care for the car, and it was good to kind of be there for that. We had another one of our big events in August, and that was the Tri-City Dragway Show. For those that don't know, Tri-City Dragway, which is located in Freeland, was an active drag strip for a long time and was shut down in the 70s. And pretty much the property has been abandoned since then, up until a few years ago when a local Boy Scout held a food drive car show. And basically, this had just taken off. Someone else has taken over now, but they've done a lot of work at revitalizing the property, lots of talks into restoring things and just making the place better. But what's cool is now this has been the third annual show that they have held at the drag strip, and this year saw just over 670 cars, which is awesome. And our shop has actually stepped up. We are the kind of the main sponsor of the show, which is really cool. It's cool to be a part of the history and hopefully kind of building on the legacy of that strip. Then to cap off August, I took Dad down to Woodward to the Dream Cruise, which was really cool. It was his first time down there. We hopped in the Montego and we cruised down with Jared and his 58 Buick, and we met Zach down there with his Bel Air, and just got to cruise Woodward, which is a great time. September kind of winds down our show season every year, but we do have a few that we do. I think the big one would be Frankenmuth Auto Fest. Personally, that's one of my favorite shows. This year, I brought my mom down and we kind of walked around the street party on Friday, which is a great time. Lots of people. And then I spent both Saturday and Sunday there as well, attending the show. Got to cruise around a little bit on Saturday night with Jared, and we brought the Buick and the Lincoln out. That was a lot of fun. It's just one of my favorite shows, for sure. September, we also had a new thing. The Midland Mall hosted a show, and Dad took the Montego down and actually got to park it inside for a couple days. As part of their show, they had a handful of cars inside the building as well as outside. So that was pretty cool. I talked to the girl that was running it, and she definitely plans on continuing this, making this a yearly thing. September ended with another cool thing that I've never got to do before, and that is a group of us from the shop went out to Utah to the Bonneville Salt Flats to a land speed racing event out there. That was just an awesome experience. That's another video on the channel that I'd recommend checking out. Got some cool shots from that as well. So yeah, we spent about a day and a half out on the salt, and then spent the rest of the time just cruising Utah. We went down to Bryce Canyon, got to cruise Scenic Byway 12, which was just an awesome drive. The scenery out there was amazing. And then before we left, of course, we flew out of Salt Lake, and while we were there, stopped by Kindigit Design and got to walk around their showroom a little bit and check that out, which was really cool. October is kind of the end of show season. There are a couple. I went out to Caro to the Pumpkin Fest, which is always a good show. They put on a good event out there. Then they also had different events in Saginaw, and there was a car show in Auburn that Dad and John both attended. And then I heard they had a pretty good turnout there too. And then the following day, went out to a local show in Midland. And that was kind of the last show of the year. That's actually the last show that I brought the Lincoln out to. And it was cool because Mom and Dad brought the Montego as well. So it was neat, kind of finish out the year with them in that show. And then not long after that, I made a really big change and sold the Lincoln. But it's in good hands. Sold it to a collector who is going to actually restore the car. Kind of bring it back to factory, which is pretty neat. I've got a video on there that kind of explains the reasons why I sold the car and the reasons why I think it's a good idea to restore it. And so I'm excited to see what he does with it. But now with having sold the Lincoln, that kind of left me looking for a vehicle. And so I spent a little time looking and eventually settled on a car that I'm really excited about, which is a 1979 Ford LTD wagon. This was located down in Ohio, so my dad and I actually went down to about Akron and I got the car and I drove it back. It made a fun day out of it. It's a cool car. It's a really solid car, and I'm excited to get working on it. And then December, we kind of cap things off with the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show down in Indianapolis. It's something a handful of us from the shop go to every year. It's just a cool event, check out all the vendors and the latest products and just have a good time as a group of friends. And so, yeah, that kind of capped off the year. So 2025 turned out to be a pretty decent year on my social media side of things as well. I've kind of narrowed down and really put a lot of the focus on YouTube. And it seems to me that that's the place where I seem to get the most views and interactions and growth in my channel. Looking back, I would have to say some of my favorite content that I've made over the year, just as far as filming and putting together, was probably like our stuff that we did from St. Ignace, kind of working on the car and the trip, as well as the spotlight video that I did on the Lincoln, and kind of the behind the scenes setup stuff from Autorama. I would say those are probably my favorite content that I've made this year. And then as the show season kind of winded down and I've started some new winter content, I got a new little short series called Go As Hard or Scrapyard that's been a little fun. I'm hoping that takes off. And I've got a few other things that seem to have done pretty well. So hopefully it's stuff that you all enjoy. If not, I'm open to suggestions. Looking ahead to 2026, I'm excited for the things to come, and I've got a few things lined up as far as my channel goes. I've got some spotlight videos and some road trips planned, as well as different coverage from shows. My goal is hopefully this year to hit 5,000 followers. Again, that's not much to some people, but I think it'd be a cool goal to have. Of course, it's that time of year where we're getting ready for Autorama, so we'll have a preview video of that coming soon and kind of what the American Gasser team is going to be showing down at that show. I also plan to do some work on the wagon, the Montego, and the 78 as well. A handful of different things for each one of them, so that's stuff hopefully you'll see here. And again, going to try to hit some of the usual shows, as well as some new stuff. I've even had some autocross and road racing events on the radar too, so that might be something we get a chance to do this year as well, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this recap of 2025, and we're definitely looking forward to a good year in 26. Let me know if there's something you want to see on the channel. We've got a lot of cool ideas, but we're always open to new stuff.